ready? Today, my mommy is going to talk about Herbert Hoover.
Thank you, Noah, for introducing Herbert Hoover, the 31st President of the United States. Herbert Hoover's legacy is a complicated one because he did great things before and after being president. But his 4 years in the White House were a struggle for himself and for the American people. Herbert Hoover was a self-made multimillionaire, earning his fortune as a mining engineer. He put his money to great use helping people across the world. At the start of World War I in 1914, Herbert Hoover, as well as thousands of other Americans, were in Europe looking for a way to return to the United States. For most of the American travelers in Europe, they quickly found that their money had lost its value and that passageways out of Europe were limited. Herbert Hoover used his resources to ensure that the American travelers stuck in Europe were back in the United States in less than 6 weeks. After Germany invaded Belgium, Hoover was appointed the head of the Committee for Relief of Belgium, as the Belgians were starving and famine was feared. Herbert Hoover successfully set up a new distribution system that eased the food shortage and saved many lives. Acts like these made Herbert Hoover a hero, not only in the United States but around the world. He was seen as a top-notch crisis manager who could solve all sorts of terrible problems. Democratic President Woodrow Wilson recognized Hoover by making him the head of the U.S. Food Administration. When Republican Presidents Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge were president, they appointed Herbert Hoover as Secretary of Commerce. When a serious flood impacted the Mississippi River in 1927, Hoover was put into action to assist those that were impacted. He called on the communities to lend their help and resources to those in need. He did a remarkable job of managing this crisis and those that came before it. When Calvin Coolidge decided not to run for a second term, Hoover became the obvious choice for the Republican Party. His name reassured people that things would be okay in times of crisis. Even though he didn't do much to campaign, because he was not a strong public speaker, Herbert Hoover won the election of 1928, handily beating Alfred E. Smith 444 electoral votes to 87. Things got bad for the American people in a hurry not long after President Hoover entered the White House. In October 1929, the stock market would crash. Banks were closing their doors and unemployment was rising. Things went from bad to worse when a severe drought dried up the Great Plains in the summer of 1930, causing thousands of farmers to lose their jobs and their money. President Hoover's response to the crisis was that common sacrifice would turn things around. As he had done with previous hardships, he counted on the citizens to fix things by volunteering their time and money. This strategy had worked before, as it did during the Mississippi River flood, but it didn't do much to make things better during the stock market crash. He refused government intervention that may have ended the crisis quicker, and as a result, he would soon be seen as part of the problem, not the solution. By the summer of 1931, 8 million Americans were unemployed, and just a year later, that number rose to 12 million, as the unemployment rate rose to nearly 25%. Some communities started to spring up with huts made of cardboard because families were forced out of their homes. These communities would soon become known as Hoovervilles. Herbert Hoover needed a win, but that is when he managed to fumble once again. Back in the year 1925, Congress agreed to pay all World War I veterans a bonus of $1,000 in the year 1945. Because of the financial crisis, many veterans found themselves homeless and in dire need of help. Congress passed a bill that would agree to pay each of them between $225 and $400 in the year 1931 as a result of cashing out their bonuses early. But President Hoover vetoed this bill, sinking his popularity even lower. There is no way to know whether President Hoover would have been able to bring the crisis to an end quicker by agreeing to government assistance programs, but historians strongly believe that he didn't do enough to end the crisis sooner. This belief assured that he wouldn't get elected to a second term and that Franklin D. Roosevelt would ascend to the presidency. Herbert Hoover lived for more than 30 years after his term as president was complete. In these years, he successfully ran relief efforts in many countries and was able to restore his good name. In retirement, Hoover answered more than 20,000 letters per month from supporters with the belief that anyone who took the time to write him deserved a reply. Join Olivia and her dad tomorrow when they get curious about roller coasters. Until next time, stay curious.